About 2 years ago was a major turning point for me.
I was being enrolled into the University of Georgia as a college athlete on a full-ride scholarship. The previous 4 years, I dedicated myself day in, day out in hopes to one day making it to this point. Coming from a place of training myself and working with a coach that allowed me to train intuitively and develop a deep sense of self-awareness is what I believe allowed me to reach my full potential as an athlete. But whoa, did things change once I became a college athlete. I was no longer encouraged to listen to my intuition, but rather allow others to give me the answers on what is going to make me my best. Even though this was a new way of thinking, allowing coaches to think for me, I was willing to give it a shot. Before the first week of school was over, that inner voice of mine was shouting something wasn't right, but I had no choice but to put it on mute. That is, if I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. After all, I was privileged to be there, or so I was told. 3 brutal months later, I was at an all-time low. I was completely shot physically, mentally. Never have I had depression in my life, but for the first time I started to experience what suicidal thoughts felt like. I was losing it. In my dorm room at night, I started hearing voices in my head, many times crying myself to sleep. Feeling torn to pieces is an understatement of how I felt physically. After trainers panicking and nearly rushing me to the emergency room, after being terrified how high my blood pressure was, I was finally given a practice off. At our first intramural meet, it was the slowest I'd swam in years. I couldn't believe it. Working 4 times the amount of hours under an Olympic coach, being surrounded by some of the top athletes in the country, I was getting slower, much slower. How did I get to this point? I believe with all certainty it was because it was no longer my intuitive wisdom that was directing my steps, which is what got me to that level of athleticism in the first place. The way I was training, the way I was eating, in order to keep up with my schoolwork, I had to deprive myself of sleep, sun, family, love. The list goes on. All critical parts of what I knew makes me at my best. Obviously, having coaching is beneficial to lead you in the right direction, but realizing that you are an individual, different than everyone else, you had your special needs. This can be a discomforting realization, knowing that it may take more than an easy follow-the-leader route to reach your full potential, but at the same time is empowering, knowing that you already have everything you need to know to be the best you can be. As crazy as everyone thought I was, I didn't care. I knew that this is not where I belong, so I dropped everything. I left school and went back home. I started a new way of life with my brothers, a life where we pretty much do whatever we want, whenever we want, as much as we want, with God being our ultimate leader. After taking almost 2 years off of swimming and being back in the pool only a few short months, working with a coach that has allowed my intuition to be the director of my workouts and not some works-for-all routine, here I am back at the pool that I walked away from, threw away a 5-year scholarship. Faster than I've ever been and having fun beating up on some of my fellow college teammates. As much as I wanted it to be the truth, I could no longer deny it. It may have been for others, but it wasn't my truth. We can apply this to many aspects of life. People like to label, box, and categorize us so that we can be defined. Looking to authorities for direction and as a tool can be useful, no doubt. Using their knowledge and experience, but not being used by it, it's easy to want to look to others for your answers, and sure, others can help. But to know that the most enlightened answers to your questions is already there, waiting to be discovered on the inside of each one of us. As I've learned that the truth is constantly changing, who knows, I may find myself back at the university swimming again a year from now, but for now, this is my truth, and I feel more at peace than ever before.